why you never give up. Yes, sir! Finally! All in 30 for like 2 years. Anything is possible, yo.
Three years ago, we were officially introduced to the term June Flight. Flight vowed that by June, he would greatly improve his basketball skill and improve his 1v1 record. You see, he would mention this in most of his videos that year, and the community thought he was just talking for the sake of it, maybe joking, or doing it just to get more attention. But on May 10th of that year, Flight uploaded a video of him doing a workout with an NBA trainer. This video went viral overnight, and the community realized that Flight wasn't joking. We realized that Flight was actually putting in the work. He would then upload another training session 10 days later, and then another one 5 days after that. In these 3 training videos, Flight was looking legit. He actually had a decent looking jumper, his handles looked tighter, and he even dunked the ball one time. With the community watching this happen, the hype for June Flight was rapidly building, and we couldn't wait to see how he was going to perform. That year, June Flight played a total of 9 1v1s and went 3-6, and in those 9 games he shot 24% from the field and nearly 16% from 3. And compared to his pre-June stats, there was little to no improvement. And looking back on it, I can honestly say that the first year of June Flight was a failure. Now fast forward to this year, we just hit the end of June and we saw the 4th year of June Flight. You see, I wanted to analyze his game this year, and out of my own curiosity, I wanted to see how the 2020 version of June Flight compared to this year's version of June Flight. I wanted to see the numbers and figure out exactly how much worse or how much better he has gotten. So the 2 questions we're going to answer by the end of this video. Was this year's edition of June Flight another failure? And over the course of 4 years, how much or how little has June Flight improved? So let's go ahead and get started with a breakdown of June Flight's game this year. We're going to start on the offensive side of the ball. This month, Flight shot the ball a lot. In fact, over half of his field goal attempts were 3-pointers. And there's no easy way of saying this, but he was horrible from there. In multiple games this month, I couldn't believe how many misses Flight had in a row. And for some reason, Flight wanted to test his non-existent range and took a ton of deep 3-pointers, and bricked nearly all of them. However, Flight's shot does look a lot better than what it used to be, but I just don't understand what the problem is. He has these spurts of making 3s, he'll make 2, sometimes 3 in a row, but then it's just like he forgets how to shoot the ball in the middle of the game, and goes back to his old habit of just throwing the ball up. If Flight can get a consistent jumper, then he would make a lot more 3s, which would equal more wins, because this year 3 of his losses were extremely close games, and if he would have had just 1 or 2 more 3s fall, he would have won. Flight did shoot a lot more mid-ranges this year than normal, and he wasn't that efficient at hitting them. But I gotta give props to him for trying to expand his bag, and there's hella room for improvement. I also have to give Flight props for how he attacked the rim this month. You can tell that he was driving with a lot more confidence than usual, and he was extremely efficient at the rim. He had some nice drives and some pretty tough finishes. However, his running hooks made a return this year, and I'm still not a fan of that shot. It would be a better shot if Flight used a softer touch. You see, most of the time when he does it, he literally just throws the ball at the basket with too much force, and sometimes he gets lucky and it goes in, but I'm telling you, it would go in a lot more if you just softened up that touch. And briefly, I wanted to mention Flight's handles this year. They look a lot better. I just wish Flight would use them to get somewhere. Whenever he does a dribble move, it doesn't benefit him at all. He often does a move and his defender doesn't even take notice to it. On the defensive side of the ball, Flight gave a decent effort this year. He had a few blocks at the rim, and he also got a few steals. However, Flight gave very poor effort on contesting jumpers, and it seemed the longer the games went on, the worse this got. And this is because of Flight's stamina. I think in every game he's played this month, towards the end of them he would just stare at his opponents taking jump shots because he was simply just too tired to contest them. If he can improve his stamina, that will equal more effort on the defensive end, which will equal more wins. So this year, June Flight played 14 1v1s and had a record of 4-10. So the 4 people he beat were Kenny Chow, No Limit J, Stefania, and Gideon. And normally I would tell you which game was his best, but all 4 of these game stat lines aren't too far apart from each other. As you can see, he nearly made the same amount of field goals in all of them, and his field goal and 3-point percentages were fairly similar as well. So he beat 4 people, but he also lost to 10, and those people were Marcellus Howard, Geo Wise, FaZe Swag, Blackboy Max, Cam Wilder, Chris White, Bree Green, Miles Brown, Michi, and cashnasty. And you're probably wondering, out of those 10 losses, which one was his worst? Well, that was easily his second game this June against Marcellus Howard, where Flight shot 2 for 19 from the field, and he only made 1 out of his 11 3-point attempts. And this was also his lowest scoring game out of all his losses. So we broke down 2023 June Flight's game and discussed who he's played. I now want to move on to his shooting averages for this year and compare them to the first year of June Flight. So in these 14 games, Flight put up an average of 22 shots a game and made damn near 6 of them. And he also put up an average of 11.5 threes a game and only made 2.5 of them. And he also averaged 8.5 points a game. So you're probably looking at these numbers and you aren't impressed. Well, sit down, because what you're about to see next, it's even worse. When we break this down some more, we can see that Flight put up a complete total of 310 shots and only made 83 of them, which gives him a field goal percentage of 26.8. And out of those 310 shots, just over half of them were 3-pointers, 161 to be exact, and Flight only made 35 of them, which gives him a 3-point percentage of 21.7. So yes, these numbers are, well, terrible. But I want to go ahead and compare them to his numbers from the first year of June Flight. So if you look at their averages, you can see that 2020 June Flight took more shots and made roughly the same amount as this year's June Flight. And they both roughly took the same amount of threes, and this year he made 0.7 more. But what I really want to bring your attention to are their percentages. As you can see, compared to his first year, June Flight's percentages this year have increased. His field goal percentage is 2.4% higher, and his 3-point percentage is nearly 5% higher. Now sure, these increases aren't by a lot, but it's improvement nonetheless. I just don't know if this amount of improvement can be considered success. Let me know what you think. Also, here are the list of stats that I calculated for June Flight's games this year. There is a link to this chart in the description if you want to take a better look at it. Alright, so let's move on to the final section of the video, and let's take a look at June Flight's shot chart this year. Every shot Flight has put up in these 14 games is on this chart, and there are 83 makes and 227 misses. So the first thing you probably notice are the insane amount of 3-point attempts taken all around the arc. Again, in these 14 games, Flight put up 161 threes and shot them at a 21% clip. So there's a lot of threes, and it looked like Flight especially liked to shoot them from the wings and the top of the key. You can also see the deep threes on here that I mentioned earlier in the video. As you can see, he was not efficient at these at all. Moving on to the mid-range area, you can see he put up a good amount of shots, especially at the right elbow area. Again, he wasn't efficient from here, but that's a spot that he liked to shoot from. And of course, at the low block area, you can see this is where he took all those running hooks. There's some green in there, but again, if Flight practiced this move with a softer touch, it would be a guaranteed bucket every time. And remember earlier in the video when I said Flight was very efficient at the rim this month? Well, this chart really puts that into perspective. We saw Flight drive more than usual. If he can do this more often and stop settling for jump shots, he can win a lot more of his games. So after seeing all of this, I leave it up to you. Do you think this year's edition of June Flight was another failure? Again, to recap, he had a record of 4-10, and he shot 27% from the field, as well as 22% from 3. So let me know what you think down below. Shout out to Flight for putting in the work this whole month. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see y'all next time.